Okay, so in this video we'll be repairing a Meta Quest 3. The problem it has is that it turns on and it seems to boot up, but it's just got a black screen. I think it's nicknamed the black screen of death online, and if you look it up, there's really no information on how to fix this. They'll give you a lot of stuff like just factory reset it and stuff like that, but if it's a hardware issue, it doesn't matter how many factory resets you do, it's not going to work. So from my previous experience working with the Quest 2s, the problem with this, I think, will be one of the cameras. So I'm going to test it, I'm going to open it up and see if I can figure out the problem. So these are two controllers and this is the headset itself. The customer did tell me that they dropped this unit and this arm broke off. So they glued the arm back on. There's a wee bracket on the inside holds that charging port. So they glued that arm back on and it worked fine. But then it came up with a tracking error and they looked online. The advice was to factory reset it. So they did that, but now it's just a blank screen. So first thing I'm going to do is just make sure that it's still charging. You can't see the screen here. I'll use this other charging meter to show you. So you see that's ticking 12 volts at 0.5 amps, which is totally fine. If this thing's nearly fully charged anyway, that's perfectly normal charging. Okay, so we know it's charging, so the problem isn't to do with that. Now, we'll just turn this thing on and test it. Now it's going to be hard for me to show us on camera, so I might just need to tell you exactly what's happening here. Hold on. I'll just remove one of these things first to make it easier. So I can hear one of those controllers vibrating. That's it trying to connect. But just like on the Quest 2, if one of the cameras is gone, it can't see these to connect to these, and it doesn't give you tracking on the headset. It usually just shows a blank screen. Now pushing the power button on the headset, I can see a backlight come on, but there's absolutely nothing on the display. Yeah, holding the power button, I get the shutdown menu, it comes up, but it's not tracking my head movements. If I move left and right, the way it should work is, say this is the power off. Say this is the power off menu. When you have the headset on, you press the power button, hold it, it'll appear there, but if you move left and right, this stays here, so it's on your left and then it's on your right. But because the tracking's lost in this, no matter where you move, the menu's just in front of you, which is not the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so I just factory reset this just on the off chance it would make a difference, but all that happened was it went through the erasing cycle. It showed a quick glimpse of some sort of kind of landscape, and then it went blank, and now you just hear the sound of it. It's definitely powered on, it's working, but there's no display. Okay, I've taken a headset like this apart once, but I couldn't find much online in the way of a disassembly guide, so I'm just going to go through it again and hopefully I'll remember as much as I need to know. I'll just remove the strap altogether. That's only going to get in the way. And I'll remove this rubber gasket thing here. If I can remember correctly, the next thing you do is, let me just zoom in here, but actually so you get a better view for anyone interested in doing this themselves. I took off the rubber gasket. I think the next thing you do is along here you remove this rubber, maybe this is the rubber gasket, I don't know. This is the next thing you remove here, around the lenses. It's just clipped in, so you just get a wee plastic spudger or whatever you want to use, your pry tool, and just start unclipping. I definitely heard another noise come from this here, like a button press or something. So it's definitely booting. It's not frozen in any way. It is just a display or tracking issue. Or a tracking issue that's leading to the display going blank. The display itself seems to be fine. Okay, so that's that. A few more wee clips and stuff there. So that's the next thing to come off. I'll put that over here. Okay, so that's the proximity sensor here. Let me just give that a wee wipe just in case Nothing to do with that. I highly doubt it, but you just never know. Nah, no difference there. I'm just going to turn this unit off now because the more I take apart, I don't want to accidentally short something out. So I'll just turn it off. And I heard the audio there for it shutting down, so it's turned off now. The next thing I think is the caps around these lenses. These are just clipped on as well. Obviously being careful not to break anything here. Maybe, yeah, seem to be able to get under there. And then go from this side. There we go, that's the left one. And you can see the glue there where the customer glued the arm back on. Did quite a good job actually. This thing can't turn anymore, but that's looks quite neat there. Alright, so next thing is I know last time I definitely took off this screw and the screw on the metal brackets here. So I'll take those two off first, and then I see there's a screw here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws here, and one screw there and one screw there. I'll take off that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws, and then these two silver screws here, I'll take those off. Let's see if I can get a better light situation going on here. Now I'm just going to get my wee iFixit magnetic mat just to keep a track on where these screws come from so I don't get them mixed up when I'm putting everything back together. Okay, so those 5 seem to be the same size, so that's handy at least. Now the 2 at the corner, will they also be the same size that they appear to be? Yep. I'm just going to take those 2 silver ones out because I know last time I definitely took them out, and I'm guessing I took them out for a reason, so I'll assume they come out again this time. I'll put them with these ones so I know these are the first screws I took out. There's actually 2 more screws here. It's kind of hard to see, but where I'm pointing with my, let me just actually zoom in there if I can. Okay, so where I'm pointing with my tweezers, there's a screw down there, and on the other side there is another screw just down there. So I need to take those 2 out. And they're the same size screws as the other 7, so that's handy. Oh, I know what the problem is now actually. These lenses were out to the side. They were actually covering a screw in here and here. If I put these lenses to the inside, you can just about see down here. There's a wee white, there's a screw, a black screw on a white bit of plastic there, and just down there. Okay, that one doesn't want to come out. It likes sitting there too much. Decided to stay. So it's the same size as the first 8 or 9 screws we had. Alright, we'll take the front cover off and then we'll find that missing screw. I don't want that floating around there, shorting something out. There we go, much better now. I bet you that screw got, oh yeah, I was going to say, got stuck to the speaker. The speaker's obviously magnetic, so that screw just stuck to the arm there. So that's that. Now there has to be more, now this is pretty tight here, there has to be more screws somewhere. Yeah, there is, good grief, there's far more screws in here than I realised. There's another screw down here, and another screw down here. So all together on the front there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, hold on. Yeah, 11, 12, 13 screws connecting the front plate on. And then if those silver screws are holding it on with the silver brackets, then that's 15 screws altogether. So if you are watching this video to learn something, hopefully you watch it the whole way through before trying to follow along. Otherwise you'll be making the same stupid mistakes as me. Now I can already feel the front plate looser in my hand just by taking out these screws. So it shouldn't be much resistance in it at all. Okay, so that's the front plate off there now. And it has these cameras attached to it, so can't just yank it off like the Quest 2. Alright, what I'm hoping is that the drop loosened the cameras rather than broke them. Because if this is something like the Meta Quest 2, I have no idea how to test the cameras to see which is faulty. I just had to go and replace every one, process of elimination. Or replace 2 at a time or 3 at a time. Hopefully I don't have to do this with the Quest 3 because I don't have any of these cameras, and I think, well, at the time of me making this video, I couldn't find any from any UK suppliers. It was only AliExpress I could find them on. And I don't want to have to wait about for that. So the battery is connected where? Okay, so it looks like first thing this comes off anyway. So we'll do that. I'll take this off first. Okay, so that's attached that wee metal part there, that metal shield, so that'll come off as well. So far all those screws seem to be the same size coming out of this black plastic part and this metal part. I wonder will this be the same size? No, that one's a little different. Okay, so the screw that came out of here is a bit shorter and stubbier. Or just shorter, I'm not sure. So we'll see as this come off now. No, it's connected to the metal shielding on this other side too. So that's 2 more screws have to come out. That's another shorter screw there on the inside here. And on the outside, it's another shorter screw here. Okay, that's attached to that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws. 2 stubby ones here and here. And the rest are the same size. So that's the Wi-Fi antenna, I assume, taken off. Now, the battery, I'm guessing, is this or this. It's this P minus and P plus, I'm guessing it's power. So I'm guessing this and this are going around to connect to the camera, or the LCD screens and the lenses. This could be the charge port. This could be the camera or power button. Camera again, maybe the audio jack this connects to. I would guess that's the audio jack. I wouldn't need that many connections. Right, so now we need to figure out what is wrong with this thing. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to plug it back in the battery and try and turn it on again just to see are we getting anything yet. Unlikely, but you never know. I've had cases where you just take something apart and it starts working. You don't really know why, but you're just happy it's working. Okay, so still the same issue. So disconnect the battery. I'm going to disconnect this front plate so I can get a better look at it. So take off that and this. There's a bit of adhesive on that, so just gently pry that off. You can use heat, I suppose, but if you're careful that you won't need that. And take that off. Now what I'm going to do is it's a bit dusty there actually, I'm going to give that a wee clean, and then I'm going to put these back on, because if this took a bump, then if these camera connectors came loose a little bit, that could be the problem. So I'm hoping that will maybe solve this, because I don't want to have to go buy a new camera because I don't know which one it is. But we'll do this first and we'll see. I'll actually do that with all the connectors. I'll take them all off and put them all back on to see if that helps us at all. Because it could be any of these, I suppose. Let's do that side. Two one, which I'm guessing next ones. Probably got two anyway. And go this side. That and that. And the lens, but we'll do it anyway. And I got these back on. Fingers crossed. You can carry. And give this thing a go now. I know it's possible these controllers aren't paired to this anymore after the factory reset right enough, so that could be that. But I can tell anyway from the power menu that it's not recognizing the movement of my head. It's just the menus following me wherever I look instead of coming to my left or coming to my right. Okay, so I'm shutting that down again. Okay. So this is going to be a ball ache, but that's my job. It's either going to be this, or these. And how we find that out, I have no idea. Okay, so I'll take this bracket off and just see if there's anything in there that looks damaged. If I was to guess, I would say, because this is the arm that broke, where the charging port is, I would say if there's damage to a camera, it's likely this one, but it's a bit more involved to get at that camera, so I'm just going to take a look at these ones, which are easier to get at. So this bracket has 3 small black screws, all the same size, and that bracket's also a heatsink, it looks like. That pink thermal paste on there. So that's 2 separate cameras. Right. I'm going to unclip and reclip those as well, just in case. Doubtful that they did come out because that bracket obviously would be keeping them pushed in, but you just never know. Doesn't look damaged anyway. Doesn't look damaged either. So those ones look fine. I'll put this heatsink back on. Now I'll do this other outside camera just to see what that looks like. And I'm not sure what those are. Is that like an infrared camera or something? I'll have a look at that as well. So these 5 screws all look to be the same size as well. And again, another heatsink. So that's just one camera in there, whatever that camera's for. Again, I'll just unplug and replug everything on the off chance that that's what the problem is. I should be so lucky. There we go. Okay, looks fine. Clip that back in. And these 2. And just be careful because there's little components around them. I don't want to break any of those off. Okay, so that's the two of them unclipped there now, and I'll reclip them back on. It's even interesting to know that those are two separate cameras. I would have assumed by looking at it that was one unit. I suppose handy if you know which one broke, you could just replace that. But I don't know which one broke, do I? I'm just going to actually take this off and see what this is. Just out of curiosity. For the value of taking off 3 screws, there's no point in not finding it. What is that? Some kind of chip on there. I don't know what exactly that does. It's on the flex cable, but connected to that, whatever that is. Oh, I don't know. Probably something I won't be able to get my tiny little brain wrapped around. So I'll just put that back in. Right, so that's the faceplate back together, and I'm just going to try that one more time just on the off chance that unclipping and re-clipping those individual cameras did the trick. Again, fingers crossed for that, so I don't have to buy new cameras or wait a month to get them. Right, try this one more time. Okay, so it's not that. So in that case, what I might have to do here is order those cameras and just wait for those to arrive, because there's not much point in me taking this apart, spending all the time and not seeing any visible damage. So I wouldn't even be able to tell. What was that? Oh, right, it's nothing. So what I might have to do here is just order a couple of replacement cameras. One to replace either one at the side, test that, and maybe order one each of these to test that, because there's not much point in me taking this apart and then not seeing any visible damage and then have to put it all back together. So at least this way, once I do take it apart, I'll have the cameras and I can just start replacing stuff and finding out the problem. I'll just let the customer know it's probably going to be a few weeks for me to get the replacement cameras, so there's not really much else I can do with that. Because I'm 90% sure it is the camera. Going by the previous model, the Quest 2, it has the same symptoms as that, and that is a faulty camera, but I just don't know with this one. Is it this one at the side, or is it the ones at the front? If I was to hazard a guess, I would say the ones at the side. I don't know for sure. I don't know much about these. I'm guessing these cameras are to do with like sensing the distance and kind of mapping out the room and showing you the pass through. You know, showing you the live footage in front of you so you can see through this. And I would say these two maybe focus more on the tracking, which I'm guessing is the problem here. So I'll have to leave it at that for now and come back to this. Actually, you know what? I've changed my mind. I know it's going to annoy me if I don't get looking at this. And just to make sure as well, I'll get this open and have a look at the cameras to make sure I'm ordering the right one. Because I actually managed to find a UK website selling replacement cameras for this, so I want to know I'm getting the right one. So I will strip this down a bit further and see what I find. As I say, I'm guessing this is the one because this is where it dropped, but I'll get a look at the shape and size of the camera and I'll know for sure then if I'm ordering the right one. So the next thing to come off, I would say, would be this. So we'll start with that. I'm working on my next solution. I hate that. Okay, some of these screws are different sizes, so I'm trying to organize them on my mat, kind of how I take them out. And I've actually realized I took out 2 screws from this and that's actually part of the fan. So there's 2 screws here, need to go over to this next part. So the fan will be the next thing to come out. Let me just remove that connector there. There we go. So there's 2 screws holding the fan and 2 screws holding the heatsink, but both of those parts are connected, it looks like. Or maybe I'm completely wrong in that. I'm probably completely wrong in that as well as everything else. So there's 2 screws for the fan, and the fan, sorry, 3 screws for the fan. There's 2 silver ones and a black one. Okay, so that's the fan out. The next thing I'll take out is the heatsink. So there's actually 4 screws all together for the heatsink. 2 are covered by the fan, and the 4 screws for the heatsink are all the same size. 4 small silver screws. So is that enough to take the heatsink off now? Or is it something else I'm wrong about? Yep, that's the heatsink off. Okay, so next thing I'll do is unclip everything from this main board and remove that next. So there's little clips here for God knows what. There's that much stuff on this thing. I don't even know what these things are for. Speaker wire needs to be connected well. That's great. And connector, just the lens. This connector, another one, there you go. I know I'm doing this fairly quickly, but always be careful because you can very easily damage these. And imagine damaging the connector on that board, how the balls it would be to fix that. Okay, and that. These antenna cables need to come out. That one's in some kind of clip there. Just unclip that and you can lift it up easier then. Okay, that. So that's everything unclipped from the board. We'll just take out these 1, 2, 3, 4 screws here. Now we'll see if we can lift this out. Oh, just missed one more connector there. The speaker on the left. Okay, so now we can lift it out. And that came out nice and easy actually. Next thing is just kind of, you'll see some connectors stuck with adhesive to this metal shield. Just peel them back, because when we start to take out this main part here, we don't want the cable stuck to it. So, and there's little cables here underneath wee clips and stuff. Just take all them out too. It's stuck down pretty good, so I don't want to pull it too hard and tear it. Let me just try and pry that up a bit. I'm going to use a drop of isopropyl alcohol on that, just to soften that adhesive. And I'll try again here. Yeah, there we go. Isopropyl alcohol did the trick there, just broke down that glue. Right, so that's everything away. I will just take off. There's 2 black screws here and 2 silver screws. I'll just remove those. Maybe that shield does need to come off, but we'll see if I do it. So 2 black screws and 2 silver screws here. I'll remove that battery, just in case it needs to be out before we take out this inside out of the shell, or whatever way you want to call it, I don't know. Oh, sorry, I see now what's keeping that battery in. I didn't think of those as screws. There's a wee, let me see here, hold on. Have I got the right bit? too big. It's too big. I'm going to need to get a bit from my bigger iFixit kit here. Hold on. Let me try this. Too big. Do I have the right one? I do. Okay, so those things, let me see here. Let me just zoom in for you. So those need to come off as well. See those kind of nuts? Or it's a screw with a nut head. Those need to come off. So that's a 3.0. That kind of a bit there. Okay, so those will come off now as well. That's what's keeping the battery in. Now that battery should lift out. Yeah, that's it. That's the battery. So there's a cable that runs in there. I don't know if it needs to come out, but I'll see in a minute. There's this 2 black screws here, 2 silver screws here, and there's 2 silver screws down the bottom, but I suppose you could get them. And hopefully if I take those out, that will release this middle part here so I can get at this camera and have a look at it. Okay, so those silver screws don't actually need to come out because this thing's really moving. Let me see what else is keeping this in here. What is... Okay, well this thing definitely needs to come off anyway. This little part here. Because when I move this down, or maybe you can see in there, the cable's actually attached to this white part of the frame. So I'm going to need to take those 2 screws out and stop this from breaking if I do get this white shell away from the black inside frame there. And lift this up. Okay, so that's that. And this cable will need to come away from these clips. Oh yeah, oh that was what was holding it actually. Oh, it was just that. Right, I want to be careful with this and take it. Okay, this needs to be unclipped too. This little smaller flex cable attached to the big one, that needs to come away too. So that's that. Now I took a silver screw out of this frame. Remember I said there was 2 screws here. That doesn't need to come out, so I'm actually going to put that back in. Okay, so that's the frame assembly that holds the lens mechanism and the screens and everything. And obviously the charge port and the audio port, speakers. So I don't need that. What I'm interested in is the camera. So 2 screws there holding on a bracket. I'll take them off now. Again, the bracket doubles up as a heatsink. 2 more little screws holding the camera itself in to the plastic frame. I will unclip it and take those out. Now that looks very similar to the Quest 2 camera, which I have in stock. I wonder if I'm lucky enough, will that fit? Hold on, let me check. I have Quest 2 cameras here, some new, some are pulled from other units with different problems. Is that the same? It looks the same. Is it the same? It looks like it might be just a little bit different. Let me check the connectors. You know what, the connectors look the same. I'm going to chance it. I'm going to try it. It's not working anyway, and if they didn't want the people to be using the other camera, they wouldn't have made them the same size. So that clips in there perfectly. I'm just going to take off the pink thermal paste from the camera I just took out and spread it, whatever's there on the back of the camera I just put on. There's not much there, it's mostly on the heatsink anyway, but still. So I'm going to screw that camera back in. And put this back on. That is weird. What am I doing wrong here? That should be over the camera, yeah. Yeah, that was definitely, that camera definitely took a hit, because look at that heat sink there. That's pure bent, like that's bent and a hump like that there. It's going up and down. It's meant to be flat. Because if you look at the one on the other side, let me just try and get that up close there. That's completely flat. Whereas this one, in comparison, well, I've straightened it out there now actually, but you can see it's still bent a little bit. It was bent a lot more the other way. So that definitely took some damage. I would bet a lot of money that that is what the problem was, that camera. And if we're lucky, the replacement camera will work. I was thinking to replace both of these cameras just to be on the safe side, but after seeing that, I don't think there's any real need. That's quite clear. We were hoping to find some obvious damage along the way. That is quite obvious damage there. Man, I am so glad I did not finish this video and order new cameras. Right, let me try and bend that down so it actually works as a heatsink now. Well, the other way it wasn't even touching the back of it. Alright, there we go. So we have to try and put this back in now. Okay, that goes like this. Make sure I don't get any connectors caught between the shell and the frame. Alright, and try and lift this up and over. There we go. So I will put in these two silver screws and these two black screws. I don't even know if these silver screws were needed to be taken out. I'll put them in first actually and see can we still remove this frame, just so I know for next time then if they actually need to come out or not. Yeah, no, that silver screw doesn't need to come out at all. I can still move that frame quite freely. So the two black ones on the top are the ones that I really needed. And that cable was holding it in, and this little sensor or whatever that wee green circuit board is for, that was holding it in as well. And the next thing to go back in is the battery. I'll just be doing everything in reverse order of how I took it apart, so I might speed this part up if I think the video is too long. Because I don't really have any more useful information to add to this, because literally just doing everything again in the opposite order. There we go. And then the actual main board itself came out. So that had 4 silver screws. and then the heatsink. Once I get the heatsink on, I might actually give this a wee test and see if that new camera did the trick. Okay, so I'll plug everything back in now and try and give us a wee test to see if that camera was the problem, or even to see that our replacement Quest 2 camera work. Maybe it'll come up with some kind of error or something. Okay, moment of truth. Got the Meta logo, at least I don't break anything. Got the startup sound. 3 dots. It worked. The camera actually worked. Let me see if I can I get that? You can hear the sound, but let me see if I can trick the proximity sensor into turning on the screens. If this works, you should see, yeah, see the blue mat, the pass-through is working now, the screen's coming on, it's not all blank. You can see the blue mat through the camera, through the 2 lenses now, which means it's working. That's about all I can kind of show on the camera because it's a little bit tricky. Because with tracking the headset movements, so it thinks it's looking down, so you can't see the screen out in front here. But that's working now. The replacement, the Quest 2 camera works in that. It was just that camera there beside the charge port. Oh, well happy with that, hey? Oh, I don't want to have to wait a whole month or whatever, however long it would take to get more cameras, and maybe them not even be the problem. So let me just power that down and put it all back together. I don't want to run it too long without the fan and everything. Oh, but that's brilliant, that. That's absolutely brilliant. Okay, now I can go put everything back together. Next thing is the fans next. Okay, so that is that all back together now, and I'm going to factory reset it and see if I can get the controllers connected. Then I'll know for sure that it's all 100%. So I'll do that now and I'll let you know. Right, so that's both controllers connected now. They're both paired up, so it's working 100% now. I'll just check just one more time now to make sure it's still charging. So yeah, I don't know if that microphone picked that up, but you can even hear the charging sound. So that's working 100% now. The screen's back on and the controllers are connecting again. Let me see if I can just get that. Yeah, you can see that now. What is that showing? You can see that it's going through the pass-through. So the cameras are picking up what's on the outside and showing through the camera now. And if I take my finger away, proximity sensor senses that it's gone and turns off the screen, but you can see it's no longer a blank screen, it's actually working now. So that's 100% now. The problem was the camera here got damaged when it dropped and broke this arm. So that's how you fix the black screen of death on these. If the factory reset doesn't work, it's not a software issue, then it's a hardware issue, and that means one of the cameras has failed and you need to figure out which one it is and replace it. So I'm going to end the video there now, and hopefully somebody learned something from that.